Okay, so I don't know how this is going to go. First of all, I'm so not okay with how my face looks today or lately. Um, broke out a couple days ago from God knows what, and now I have bumps everywhere, like I majorly had a breakout, and it's been a week, I think, now. Anyway, I keep saying I want to make a video, and I have so much to say, but why? Then I ask why. Why? It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. But I find that that's exact reason why I need to make a video or speak my truth. I don't know, about a year ago, I jumped off to social media in general after always having so much to say, I guess, and so much to share. I just didn't have much to share anymore. Where to start? So much to say, where to start? Mostly because there's power in a story, and it's the reason why I wanted to kind of share it anyway. And personally remove the power from my own story. At the current moment, I will say that I do struggle with PTSD. I hate calling it that, but that's what it is. I mostly hate calling it that because of how I was treated of the onset, like when it happened. The whole situation, ignored, pushed aside, while the person that caused me the most pain got to just keep living his life, going on about whatever, no big deal. And it changed me. And just completely dropped that part of it from it. But anyway, moving on. I guess with all the things going on about people deserving unity, equality, and all that, has really made me realize how much, as humans, we try to relate, or we find some way to relate to other people. It's just human nature. Or we attempt to let others know that we try to relate to, or we can somewhat understand. We'll never fully understand what they go through unless we went through the exact same thing, and that's just not possible. I mean, even if you did go through the same thing, it wasn't the exact same thing, and you do not handle pain the same way as other people, and nobody does. And let's say if the same paper cut, you had the same exact paper cut several times throughout your life, you would handle it differently each time. And let's say, if it was possible, someone else had the same exact paper cut. They handle things differently throughout their lives as well. So it's just, you don't ever know in the moment. And the only thing we can do is say that we can understand or have a clue of what they go through. And I think it's common for many of us to try to relate and say, this so-and-so happened to me, so I can kind of understand what that's like. And then we forget to say things like, but I'll never know what you went through, and we leave it at that. Instead, a lot of times people will share their story and it becomes about them, or then they see the gravity of it all, and it like weighs them down, and so that person struggling is actually consoling you. So it becomes a whole selfish process, and it's really difficult to separate those things for many people. But I can't say that relating or attempting to relate is a bad thing, because I also do it. But I will not know the the weight of what it is to be on the other side, because I understand, what they go through because of what I've been told, who I work with, seeing how they experience it, and things like that. I've only had a taste of things that they've went through because I work in an industry that is primarily not white. So, I mean, I don't like saying reverse racism, it's not that, but I've been treated as such in the same similar manner, just because I have privilege or whatever it is, some other reason. I've been told several times they think I want their job. I don't want their job. I just want to do the job properly, whatever. Anyways, I digress. So, with all of that being said, I only remotely have a taste of what it's like. What I will say is that the only thing that I can relate to on a different level, if you take race and things like that, the only way that I could possibly understand in any manner, is the looks that you get if you ever bring up having PTSD or having symptoms of PTSD. People think that you're crazy, you live underneath a rock, you have an addiction, or you're going to go ape shit on them, or you're constantly having issues. And that's not the case. In great severity, sure, yes. But you can struggle with daily living, and what I mean by daily living isn't necessarily always or have to do with everyone about cleaning themselves, taking a shower, and all that. I mean, people deal with that with anxiety and depression every day. But to explain PTSD and is closer to kind of how people would understand bipolar disorder or mood disorders, or it's kind of like you'd flip, feeling a switch or feeling just off on a certain day. And people even have a stigma against mood disorders and bipolar disorder, and they think just because somebody flips a switch, or they change from one second to another, that suddenly they have some bipolar disorder or whatever. And that's not even the case. And most bipolar people that are diagnosed with it don't really have bipolar disorder. It's one of the highly overdiagnosed disorders anyway. A lot of it can be just not knowing how to communicate your emotions and feelings in general, and bottling it up, and then it comes out, or whatever. I digress. I ventured away from social media in the past because life was too hectic and too complicated after being introduced to more anxiety in my life and more stressors and controlling nature of people in my life that I attempted to remove, that would not remove themselves, and still attempt to find ways to place themselves in my life. I removed myself from social media because I got where you want to share 1 second, you want to talk about what's going on, you don't want to share the drama of it all, or you want to share and you want to laugh and you want to feel a certain way, but you don't feel good because you're not being productive and you're being overly judgmental of yourself. Now it sounds like normal depression and anxiety. Well, that's kind of what was happening with me. But not wanting to acknowledge that what happened to me 7 years ago came back to life a few years back. I'm crying right now. But it's okay because my makeup looks horrible today. I literally have no clue why I'm crying. And this is what happens. I'm okay with it. I'm trying to work through it and accept whatever's going on with me. But because my brain cannot make sense of it, or my body, or one of the two, I draw a blank. And my body emotes the emotion, but I couldn't tell you what it is. Yeah, I've been through some things in my life with relationships choosing the wrong people. And I've also had some really awesome people in my life too. I've been very blessed. But after these significant months, non-ending abuse, it was very difficult to get my life back together. When I felt like I was at the top of my profession at the time. I'm not really top of my profession. I was doing the best possible for me. And it got taken away by somebody who was so controlling. And the more I fought to win over that, the worse it got. The more I asked for help, the more I was ignored. Like, just leave, just move, just call the cops. It's not that simple. It's never that simple. And it's even harder whenever you're dealing with the emotions of they've beaten you down and wore you down, and you don't realize what's happened until it's too late. And when you fight back, it's no big, fight back like, no, I'm done. And then they push and push and push, and then it just keeps continuing. And let me tell you one thing, you can call the cops and they can come. That doesn't mean they catch the person. And usually once they leave, the cops leave, the person returns. So there's that. I think one of the most damaging things was it was very difficult for me to go and report to get an extended restraining order on this person. It was hard for me to just leave the house. I feared everything because he'd knock on my window when I was sleeping. I could hear him breathing outside. I knew he would sit outside my job before I left that job. It's just, I know that for years he would call and breathe. And I don't answer the phone anymore. If I don't know your number, I don't answer the phone. If I'm not expecting your call, I don't answer the phone. It was hard enough to go up there and report it. And it was even harder to report the significance of the other part with medical proof, and for it to not even be put in the documentation, and it being completely ignored. And I remember that lady judging me when I said it. I was so scared. And that's really not the first time something like that's happened. It wasn't put on there. And I wasn't the last person it happened to. But while he walked free for years until he violated his probation enough and sat in jail for a year. My life has been completely different since. I'm not going to go into the grave details about it because it's already 15 minutes, but it was very hard to pull my life together, and I was blessed to have the person in my life at the moment afterwards that helped to support me through that time. And I went back to work I went back to work, and of course in a prison, of course. But that's how I figured out that I really do have PTSD. I just thought it was trauma. And that was a whole thing. But it was more like, oh, it's so hard to remember this. My brain starts to turn it off and I blank out. Exposure therapy, pretty much. And I did eventually get my life together after that. I was doing really well, and for several years. And then, of course, I think it was 2017, 2018, that another controlling person, not to the level of harm of this, but extremely angry, extremely controlling, extremely degrading in front of people we didn't know. And he would sabotage things in my life constantly. And I fought it, per usual. I'm done. And it's like, I couldn't be free. I couldn't be free to study for a licensing exam finally. I couldn't be free to continue with my business. And it was re-triggered all over again. But this time in a way that I'd never handled before. It's hard to explain getting your life back together and coping with PTSD on a daily basis when it is bothering you, because that's most mental health. It doesn't bother you on a daily like that. But you usually get some kind of anxiety, you work through it, you know your tools, you go do things. Or as much as I like to sit and just isolate, I do great in front of people, and I feel energized from them, their presence and things like that. But hell, I'll do anything just to avoid them. Even after I know I feel better after being around. This is so crazy. I used to have to go sit in Starbucks, not talk to anybody, I had my headphones in, just to have the energy of people around me. And that was very difficult for a long time. So while I isolated, after I finally got this person to leave, because I had indicated that he was acting like the person that began this abuse that I had in the past, because I had asked him not to do certain things, like touch me, just normal things people would do, slap you on the butt or whatever. It was just disrespectful and rude, and then laugh at me and say you could do whatever you wanted. And then the last time that I told him that it felt that way and how it made me feel, him just blatantly not caring constantly and laughing at me, how that made me feel. He said, "Women waste men's lives by saying shit that doesn't matter. Or they ruin their lives by bringing up stuff that's not a big deal." But it is a big deal. And something I would have never thought about in the past. Like, it's a big deal, and especially if, you're with somebody and that's jokingly a thing. That's a totally different scenario than you didn't welcome it. But I never once brought up a business, and the second he thought I was going to attack him and his business, he finally left. It's completely not about me. That's fine. But it's been a mess since that day, trying to get my life together. I can't say that I even worked very much in 2019. And being in school has been a very difficult road. Because I tried to study for a licensing exam I should have done 3 years ago now. Hell, I should have been done with that internship, but here I am. And since he wouldn't allow me to study, for some reason I thought getting back into a PhD program would help me. I don't know. I really dove into it because, excuse me, sorry. I really dove into it because it's the scientific parts of things that I've always been interested in and stuff like that. And it's been the first challenging thing in school I've ever really done. Now, in my master's program, we used to write 25 page papers, but that's not the case with this one, and it can be more challenging because I actually, instead of scanning things that I mostly already know, I get really into it, and I allow myself to go through the therapeutic process to understand and then look at the scientific parts of it, and I really love it. I'm such a learner of life. And let me reiterate, just because people are therapists, just because you know, and even a normal everyday person, not that I'm not normal, but whatever, anyway, you can know all day. I mean, you know what you should and shouldn't eat, and we still eat bad. You know you should probably be working out right now, but you're watching my face, or might not be watching my face. I don't know, whatever. You know, it doesn't mean that that's what happens. And I will say that it's been super challenging just to try to find time to study, do homework, get motivated to do it, because I can have a day where I'm just like, I have all these amazing ideas for my business, and I started that venture, and it's, it's all these awesome things, and then I get inspired by people, and I want to share my knowledge, and I want to reach out, and I have all these ideas one day, and I'm just like, I'm back on social media, not necessarily sharing, but connecting with people. When I was so scared to connect before, I felt like I was going to get rejected on some level, and because I didn't have much to share, I was ashamed. I still am. Because now I'm in between homes still, and that's okay. I wanted to be closer to my parents, so I left my apartment and was going to move in with my now boyfriend, but he's working on the house, so I'm staying with my parents, and it's been a blessing. I've been here a lot longer than, it's supposed to be here 3 weeks, but I always wanted a closeness with my mom my entire life, and I have that now. So it's like awesome. And I've been through a few classes where I've really gotten into like the programs that I've wanted to do myself and want to kind of add into my practice with clients and stuff. And I allowed myself to really get into those programs, and I got so much out of it. It's amazing. I don't know. I just feel like if I've ever talked to a licensed or a counselor or a therapist that hasn't went through some kind of process of what they're teaching or what they're educated on, then they're missing out. Because, I mean, as therapists, we are always told that we should also have a therapist, mostly because a lot of people can't hold on to all the issues of their clients and separate that from their day-to-day life. Luckily, I can do that, and I've been really good at being able to separate. That doesn't mean that I don't care about clients. I do, but now I have this really awesome part of PTSD where I dissociate, so it definitely does not relate to me. But it's kind of hard too, because sometimes I don't feel like my mind allows my heart to connect when I feel it, but I can't express it as much, I think. Now, my clients would tell you otherwise, my friends would tell you otherwise, but I'm also a person where I'm so honest, where I will tell you exactly how I'm feeling, or if I feel like I'm not portraying an expression, I want to make sure people know how I feel about something, or I'm there for them, etc. But again, I digress. Sorry for the sniffles. I can't help it now. My brain just went, trees. How pretty. Don't remember what I was saying. Oh. So yeah, the last year and a half now has been difficult. I haven't really been working. Every time I try to work, it's been frustrating because I feel like people are incompetent in places that I've worked before, or I've done contract work, and I don't want to put my license at risk, and it gets really difficult to really plan time to make sure I have that for the clients, and then they don't show up, and after a while it like kills me inside. It's like wasting time, and some days I spin my wheels. I have time to do things, but for some reason it takes me forever to do things, and it takes me forever to get into it. Like if my brain's like, nope, I'm done, it will just snap off, and I can't like make it focus. And a lot of people would describe that close to like ADD or ADHD or something, and depression, anxiety, whatever. Okay, and I did, for a period of time, I did take medication for that, but it got to a point where I was having panic attacks. So I was trying to go to sleep. Every time I would go into deep sleep, I would have a panic attack and freak out, and it was like the worst feeling in the world. And I didn't stay on any anti-anxiety medicine because I didn't want to be that person, and I didn't want to feel like I was broken, and I didn't want to feel like I needed it. But some days I knew if I didn't take it, there was no way homework was going to get done or anything else. And I also know that fitness and being active heals the brain. I could go into that forever. That's where my research has been lying actually before I got PTSD. But I'm so interested in neuroscience and how the brain works and how fitness actually heals the mind, and I could go into that forever, but that's not what this point of this video is, which I need to come to a point, I guess. It's mostly to just share, I guess. But I did get back into working out and staying, active in that area, and it was really helpful, but some days it was very difficult to get started. Other days I didn't leave the house. I had to make myself leave the house, or I'd be freaked out. I still kind of have problems leaving my cats, like going and visiting my boyfriend, and if I want to stay the night, because my parents, my mom will say that she'll take care of the cats for me, my babies, but I don't like being away from them. I feel like it's wrong, and I could go on forever about how that gives me anxiety. Even during the day, it's like crazy. I have to make myself do it and not think about it. It's just the only way to really work through it. But some days I really beat myself up about not working, and I want to work, and I have all these wonderful ideas for my business, and I feel like that's really when I shine, is when I'm with people and helping them. But how do I recruit people, and how do I find people to work with? And I have all these ideas. I started a blog on my website. I want to have a community. I also want to provide, I do alternative services with clients. I want to provide those as well. I don't know how to do it online on a certain platform, how I want to handle it, but I don't answer the phone. I don't answer the phone. People used to call me all the time, and I don't answer the phone. And I tell everyone, please text me or email me, and I will call you or I will text you back. And I know that hurts my business, but can't help it. I can't help it. I can get to know somebody via text message and then I'll talk to them on the phone. It's like the craziest thing ever. Or, I'll have a client set up and I get on the phone. If I push myself to be on a call with them, within 5 minutes, I'm like totally cool. Like, but the fear of actually doing it, it's like I have a fear of failure, of being seen through, being a fraud, or I don't know what it is, but it's really frustrating. And it takes up most of my days. Some days, they're very rare these days. Being here with my parents and not in an apartment by myself has helped me exponentially. I really needed it. I didn't expect to be here this long with Corona and everything else going on. And I've been a good help for them. I've helped around the house. I've also helped my boyfriend go shopping when he can't go because he works for them. And so I've been busy. But I beat myself up for not actually working and not actually having a supervisor, because I planned to have a supervisor before. I did this other job and then pushing my own business, but it's just too much. I'm in the middle of everything. And then I'm just scared to jump on the stuff that I want to do. That wasn't me before. At all. I just jump. Just do it. Go do it. I plan it out, feel good about it, and just go. Like, I know right now, if I hire an assistant or one person to help me out with all of those things that need to be juggled or whatever, these ideas I have for my website, they just go do it. Or somebody that would answer the phone and explain what I want them to explain so that I actually can do the treatment part, I'm good. I need help. But I'm also really good at being the person behind the scenes to help the main person, if that makes sense. But I don't think that's where I shine. I mean, not necessarily I think my clients stand out and I help them shine, if that makes sense. I don't know. I have all these, I get so inspired and I'm like, I know so many things that could change people's lives, and I want, even if I help one person. And then in the back of my head, it's like, you still go through this shit. And I saw somebody on Facebook or Instagram, whatever, get slammed for making a mistake or being divorced, or they're human. I could tell you how to have an awesome relationship, but it takes two people. Two people. And if it's not working on your end, you can walk away. Or can you? It depends on the situation. You can always walk away if you have people that support you and you can call on and you can go to and trust that they will be there to help you. Because I'm going to tell you right now, it's hard for people to ask for help. And then to be ignored, or somebody just say, why couldn't you just leave or move? Really? You know those kind of people, you know they'll follow you. I digress. With that said, I'm human, and I don't know one therapist. I don't know one that has a perfect life or that hasn't went through something. I think most people that have gotten into this field, counseling, therapy, whatever, struggle with their own things, and that's why they wanted to help other people, or they wanted to understand, or whatever it may be, I just don't know where to start. I have all these awesome ideas, and then I get down on myself, like, maybe I should just give up my licensing and stuff and just go for it in other ways. Because Corona has kept it impossible for me to try to do my internship. And I don't know if I care to have that anymore. I want it. I'm getting my Ptsd. Everybody can go. But it's very hard to explain to have so many things to do and it takes forever to do one of them in a day. I don't know. it's totally crazy. It's like you really have to set your intentions. You really have to do things like I have to listen to certain music, meditation, things like that. It really helped to set my day up. And even then I can't focus, or I'm so full of energy that I can't, I don't want to focus. I just want to help people. I just want to do it. I don't want to go through the whole process of doing this and making this look perfect and doing that. I just want to jump in, just do it. You can't just do that whenever you're doing it the ethical way, and you have to have signatures and this and that and the other. But anyway, I digress. I already moved on from what I had originally intended to talk about, but I came out here to talk about how PTSD is really like a thing. And no, I'm not on any kind of disability, because I actually had a therapist who told me it's too hard to get anyway. And this was in the thick of it, and I didn't want to apply for that. I didn't want to attempt because I didn't want to be that person. But I don't judge people that have those. I just judge myself. Like, if I do that, does that mean I'm incapable? I don't want to be that lazy person not doing anything, but that's not me. I'm still going, I don't know. My brain won't allow me to go there. I was actually pushed at my school to actually, encouraged by several professors to apply for accommodations because of my diagnosis. And it took my school, who's so incompetent, almost 2 years to finish my application because it kept falling through the holes. And when I was told it was done, it wasn't done. I didn't have the letter. I didn't have any of it. But the professors, being as amazing as they are, every single one of them, almost, all worked with me when I struggled to get things done, where they would have extra video conferences and be supportive and encourage me. And those kind of things, the interaction, rather than sitting in my head and staring at something for hours and days and staying up and doing it, I mean, it was ridiculous. Like, the amount of my brain not working and being frustrated because that's like all I have going for me. So I thought, I still feel that way. But the encouragement and learning how to turn that off, how to quit when it's just not working, and reset again for another day. And it was just a whole new learning experience than the first time around. Master's program was different because it was still challenging, but I knew the information. In my PhD program, I know the information on a psychology side, but the mind-body medicine part of alternative and complementary practices, I don't know the details of it. And so I try to get really immersed in it to understand it, because that's just how I am. I need to understand it completely, that I can get behind. And it's a full-time job. It really is a full-time job to really dedicate myself, because I feel like I'm not going to half-ass it, because I want to put my all in it so I can be the best version of myself and have the best information and the most information that I possibly can, even knowing where to go if I don't have those answers for clients in the future. I mean, that's just the way I look at it. Like, if I don't know the answer, I'm going to tell you that I don't know, and I'm going to point you in the right direction. But the way my brain works is it finds connections and everything. Hey, this is kind of like that. I'm good at explaining alternative methods in a manner of understanding it in, everyday ways of looking at stuff, I mean, and most of my clients will tell you that no one will explain the 12 steps in the way that I do, that allows you to understand their purpose. And once you understand their purpose in that manner, you're more open to the 12 steps, rather than most people get so upset that they just give it to God. but it's a whole lot more than that. But I'm good at identifying those patterns and relationships and things like that. And anyway, so I immerse myself in my program. It's a full-time job to do, and I'm finally challenged, but I've had some really amazing professors that have supported me through the process, and it's been a learning process because, like I said, in my master's program, I could like knock it out and don't have to really read everything, and it's kind of how you do it in graduate school. But in this program, the papers are much shorter. They're like 5 to 10 pages. This is nothing. But I come from a 20 to 25 page master's program, so, and I can be long-winded, obviously. And I pull from all different kinds of directions. I can have so many, and I had to learn how to write longer papers with more meaning, more research, more purpose, and things like that. And now I'm having to learn how to tighten it up and be quiet. And I think that's brings me full circle to why I left social media, because I had so much to say and nothing I really wanted to say. And I would have really positive days, and days I spent meditating a lot, days I spent trying to just sitting outside with my cats, and being most days I felt lazy, but I was always doing something. I was always working to work on myself, and it's like I knew if I had more structure, but structure was very difficult to put into place when one second you're fine and the next second you're beating yourself up, and you get stuck on something and you don't know why you're stuck on it, and then you're frustrated because you're stuck on it, and you're like, that's all you can think about, and it's just a fucking crazy ass roller coaster. And I don't really have it like that anymore. But I do have my days where I just say, fuck it. What do I do? It's really challenging. And all I want to do is spread rainbows and butterflies. I want to continue to help others be the best version of themselves, and to find that motivation and fight through the struggles, and know that you're human because you have struggles. And it's okay to admit that. And then the next second I'm hard on myself because I should be not dealing with this shit anymore. But I don't take any medicine for these things. Probably should some days, but I don't. I don't even see a therapist anymore. I moved far away. My therapist is nature, Mother Nature. And I haven't really felt like that. I mean, I've worked through a lot of different things, and that's just kind of where I'm at. And see, my brain just turned off and said, you're done. 43 minutes is enough, but I feel like I didn't get to my freaking point. I guess the point is that life's not easy, and societal pressures are very difficult, and personal pressures can be even worse. But there's a happy puppy old lady walking toward me.
Hi, Dolly. Hello, Radar.
She's got one ear.
Hello. Hello, old lady.
Anyway, I think that's about all I'm going to say for today. Or maybe ever. I don't know. But it's great to feel like I live in life again and I'm alive. But then I'm really hard on myself many days because I'm not working full time. It's hard to try to go back to work full time. I did try with Corona and everything else, and being in between homes, and it's just like a whole thing. I try not to put my obligations on my cats, on my parents and stuff, even though my mom doesn't mind. But I try to help out and as much as possible so that I'm not a nuisance or lazy, but I have my days where I just want to check out. And I hate not validating that a lot of the issues that I struggle with are part of PTSD, or part of it. And this is where I really struggle with the most, because it's something that I don't want to be that person that lives with that label where I'm not moving forward. I don't think that's me. But I also don't want to be that person anymore where I'm invalidating what's really going on and the help that I need. And I guess the only help I need right now is just pulling my shit together, because I second guess everything some days. And I invalidate the label, because I don't like labels, but that's really what's going on. And what's funny is most people don't realize that onset does not kick in until 6 months. If it doesn't immediately kick in, onset typically doesn't show in your brain, in your mental health, until about 6 months, because that's the cycle of your cells in your mind, in your brain. Anxiety and depression and stress kill brain cells. We make brain cells, thousands and thousands of them every day. But whenever you're depressed, anxious, and all that, and go through trauma, they do not have the potential to, or if you eat badly, you don't take care of yourself, whatever it is. We do not create an environment for them to grow and mature into neurogenesis is what it is. It's like generating neurogenesis, new neurons in the brain. But if we don't create that kind of environment for them to grow, then they die. And when you deal with things like this, you don't reach out, and the longer that it festers and the longer that you go without help or trying to address some of these things, or the longer you stay in abuse or whatever it is, the more cells will die. It also can lead to Alzheimer's disease and dementia and things like that. And that's why the onset of PTSD, a lot of times people that go through trauma, they won't actually show signs of having gone through a traumatic event until about 6 months later on. There are things that you can do to prevent PTSD, and that's kind of where I want to come in, is to create, I'm hoping to do my dissertation on this, of how I'm already working to develop ways of preventing the onset of PTSD, through supporting the environment to allow your brain cells to grow. But the problem is that you can't initially stick somebody with really severe PTSD in treatment to be able to be insightful and to address those things immediately. So they need to be in an environment that creates comfort and calm, and a place where they can connect with other people, that allows the beginning stages of that to heal before their mind is clear enough, can lift the fog enough to start processing the deep stuff. Because you can't do that immediately for most people. They're not in that state. They dissociate. They don't stay in treatment as much as they want to be in treatment, because it gets to a point where they're hitting a wall, or they're re-triggering things that they're not ready to take a look at yet, or their mind's not ready to take a look at. So there's ways of working up to those things. So I said I was going to end the video, and then I'm talking about it. This is really what I'm passionate about, and I think it's a way to prevent the onset of PTSD. You have about 6 months before that happens. But if you're doing self-care and taking care of yourself in a way, or reaching out to certain groups, which is something that I am working on pulling together, if I can just stop feeling so crappy some days about scared to jump, to develop these groups for people at very low cost and some free. That's my goal. To provide a place where people can donate for women or men, that mostly women, because typically it is typically women that it happens to. So to create these safe places and for people to donate to provide services for a certain amount of people a month, that's my, or whatever, is kind of my goal, to kind of sponsor stuff like that. That's kind of my goal. That's what I want to do. To prevent further onset of PTSD, to help your brain cells rejuvenate and keep growing, keep creating that environment for them to grow, because we have a very neuroplasticity in our brain. We have that allows our brain to change and shift, and that's a good thing, because we can help it shift back to a more healthy way of living. And something that has kind of been a huge sign in my life twice over now. So it doesn't mean it solves a lot of those issues that might be present for the rest of someone's life. Hopefully, I don't have major issues very much often. Can't tell you the last time I had a major. Today is as close as it got. In probably about 8 months, 7 months, something like that. So, no, that's about right. But, and there it went. There went my brain. That's kind of that's enough. It's 52 minutes and now I'm getting fidgety. So, yeah, I forgot my point of telling you all that, except for the fact that I'm just trying to motivate myself. I'm not narcissistic or anything, but I have a lot to give, and I'm not reaching anyone right now. I would like to reach more people. If I could just get out of my own way. Anyway, I don't know if you'll watch this. I don't know, but hopefully. I guess one big thing is that I wanted to state that I do understand the inequality of this world. The only thing about my situation is if I don't bring it up, then I'm not judged for it. Everyone else that struggles with those things because of their color, their race, their sexual orientation, even sexual orientation, you can kind of hide that. Some people are just a little obvious, and that's not a bad thing. But like I said, they can't hide that just by not saying something. Your color is your skin color. So I can only remotely understand that feeling. So we all want to relate to somebody. We all don't want to feel alone. We don't feel like we have purpose, and I just hope somebody I've touched their lives today. I needed to share my story. And I feel better now. And now I feel done. Very nervous. Okay, bye.